All right, welcome to another episode of Real Estate vs. Technology. I'm your host, Norman Kinsey. We have our co-host, Mr. Dan Gandy. Welcome, Dan.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Of course. And we have a very special guest today. He's actually behind me. Brad, welcome to Real Estate vs. Technology.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So the show's all about you, your business. We want to deep dive a little bit more of the humble beginnings of where you started in real estate. So let's talk a little bit more about, first off, what got you in the business? What made you want to get in it first?
It's kind of, to me, it's interesting. It might be boring, but I started out actually working for Mike Ferry. About 20 years ago. One of my best friends is a guy named Bill Pipes, who now is a big speaker and trainer for Tom Ferry. At the time, he was, a big speaker for Mike. And so he, as a friend said, Brad, you have the gift of gab. Why don't you come in and work for us? We'll teach you how to sell and teach you sales. And I loved it. And then after Mike, I went in the mortgage industry, actually with Bill. Worked with him and a guy named Aaron Chua, who now is actually a coach for Tom Ferry, and started doing mortgages there. And then in 2004, got my license. I did a year doing mortgages and selling. And then 2005, I think I went full-time into real estate.
Wow. That is
so
awesome.
Cool.
That's a great story. And to see like how that's evolved over the years with both Tom and Mike over the years and how they've expanded as well. It seems like you all are expanding at the same time and helping each other and wishing each other success. I saw Tom Ferry on some of your posts, congratulating you as an amazing leader. And I saw that you gave contributes to him as well, as far as him supporting you through the process.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. When I worked for Mike, Tom was the CEO. So we got pretty close there. And I think at some point during the financial crisis, I started coaching with his company, and have lots of amazing friends in that network, amazing agent friends throughout the country, coaches. So it's been a really, really cool journey. And the cool advantage is when I started selling, I was like a sales ninja because I had the best training that you can get in the business, learning under Mike, Tom, Bill to, sell their products.
Wow. That's awesome. That's huge. That makes a big difference. So what areas do you serve?
So I do a couple things, actually a few things. So I'm in South Orange County, Laguna Beach, Laguna Niguel, Laguna Hills is kind of my primary area, San Juan Capistrano as well. I manage 2 offices for Douglas Elliman. I still run a team. I have 2 business partners selling. Okay. And then have 2 agents on our team. And then I also do a lot of sales training for Douglas Elliman, manage our Laguna Beach, our Laguna Niguel office, and, recruit and train and coach and do all kinds of fun things. And then I have my own slew of private clients, private agents that I coach as well.
Wow, that's awesome. How do you manage your time? Sounds like you got a lot of balls juggling in the air there, huh?
It's all process. It's all systems. The more process, the more systemized you are, and the more, since this is a technology show, the more that you lean into using technology effectively, you can do quite a bit in one day.
Yep. Yeah. That's our, what is it? KPIs and standard operating procedures. Definitely. Yeah. Help a lot. So give us a little bit of context on the broker side for your team and the brokerage side. I saw actually on Instagram that I think it was you that did the video that talked about how you're the #1 team to follow in Orange County on social media. I believe that was for your Instagram. So for the team, how are you guys doing on the transaction volume on the side there for the last 12 months?
So I always look at my board. Right now we're at 53 sold, pending and closed. That'll close by the end of December. Volume wise, it's been a good year. So I think we're going to land somewhere probably around 75 million is when we're done. And we'll go into January with, 3 really good escrows. So, I'm pretty pleased because last year, so in 2018, I got into management.
Okay.
And I had to pull back from sales, but I wouldn't give up my sales business. So I really had to restructure the entire team. And, talking about process and systems, I had to bring in, more process,
clone
more
yourself.
systems. Yeah, I had to look at everything because I didn't want to lose my production. I wanted to keep my production up. And I think in 2017, 18, we were, doing about 70 transactions a year.
Wow.
So, my goal next year is to get back up to that 80 number, which I think we'll easily do it.
Wow. That's awesome. We hear a lot too in the space where it's just like agents will start to have success and then, well, now I want to do something to give back or support the industry. So let me get into coaching. And then how do you set up those KPIs and standard operating procedures, SOPs, to be able to have that process of, okay, I have a good team behind me to support me, but on the other side of the coin, I'm also, supporting, training, and helping as well to kind of do both sides in both worlds. So we're looking forward to getting more technology with Dan's questions of deep dive how you do that too here in a little bit.
So I think one of the things I'm good at is delegating. I'm a salesperson, down and true, right? Like that is what I'm really good at. And I'm an NLP master practitioner. Like I've really studied the art of sales, the art of communication. And it's something that I'm passionate about. So I stick in the lane that I'm really good at. And so one of the things I did last year is I hired a back-end operations company that works virtual, that literally runs the back end of my business. They handle all my marketing. They're the ones that deliver the KPIs to me. They do my accounting. I know what the ROI is on my spend. If I have to shift and move things around, I really train and coach to have a CEO mindset versus a transactional mindset where most agents are kind of, built off, I need another deal. I need another deal. I'm really looking at the entire business as a whole. So, I track and measure everything, and they're the ones that track and measure everything for me. So every day I'm just reviewing the numbers. I'm reviewing where we're at. And I'm less concerned at this point in my career about, how many people, I'm talking to. It's more about where I'm spending and where I'm seeing return. And my whole business model is profitability. Wow. I think the best year we ever had, we did, 85 transactions, and it was actually, from a profitability standpoint, one of the worst years I had.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. And to know those numbers too is going to make a huge difference. I know, Dan, you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I think that when you look at a real estate business, as you said, and you're always looking and hunting for that new deal. But when you actually sit back and say, all right, I'm going to run a business, I'm going to look at my P&L, and I'm going to actually look at this as, does more transactions mean more problems, more bandwidth, more employees, or is how do I find that happy medium where I can add these other verticals of business income as well as be able to balance it all and automate? And I think that's a great point to bring up, because most agents who are super successful, which we have tons of them as clients, they're so stuck in the transactional game, and it's so hard for them to delegate. That's really what I wanted to go back to, is that delegation and being able to trust people to set it up the way you want it and be able to just run with it. That's where really you create that multiplier effect. I think that's what Ricky Kierwick says. So, yeah.
Well, and it's interesting because you made a comment that, I do a lot of things, but I actually have more time off now than I ever have.
Wow.
So, it's interesting because once the engine's running, once it's moving, once it's going, then all you have to do is maintain the engine. And then when you have really good people that you're working with, and what their strengths are, and you put them in that lane, the machine just takes off. Wow. So, it's funny because I do a lot of training on disc profiling. I don't get too into NLP with agents because it could be a really deep level type of training. Yeah. But from a high level disc profile, I built my team based off a disc profile. So I'm a driver. My business partner, Trent, he is the sales guy. He's the I. I've got my customer service, who helps me manage the listings. She's the high C, the high S. And then, my C is my operational company. And that's a group that's doing multiple things for me. So they run my numbers, they run my P&Ls, they do all my accounting, they do all my marketing, they do everything. And then all I do is get pinged when I have to review something, and I look at it, take a look at it, and I approve it or not, and it goes out. And then I'm just on the phone with clients all day.
Love it, man.
That's sweet. That's awesome. Talk about working smarter, not harder. And all the viewers.
The true definition.
Yeah. Viewers and listeners out there, like, take some notes now, because that's huge. We even had a guest on the show that was doing 5 transactions a month in Texas, and Daniel's like, yeah, I was doing 5-6 transactions, but now I want to do 1 to 2 because I went from 300 to 500,000 to average median home sales price to up to 1 to 5 million. So it changed his whole process of
100%.
thinking. Yeah, not to mention now he's monetizing his YouTube channel and making money off that too.
Well, when I coach and train agents, I look at multiple levers, right? Like you look at an average commission rate. If it's low and let's say you're selling 20 homes a year and your average commission rate is 2.2%, but you could push that to 2.6%. That's a significant raise in your income, even if you do the same. One of the other levers is your average price. If you could push up your average price and you do the same amount of transactions, you can grow your business quite a bit. So I think sometimes, agents are more motivated, unfortunately, by the bank account and the complacency, and that's the transactional agent side, where when you really look at your business and you understand the KPIs and you understand, the different elements that you can change, you can grow your business in multiple ways without necessarily having to work harder. Because as you brought up, when I was doing, 80 plus transactions a year, the cost to run that business was insane. I needed more staff. I needed more people. I needed more agents, and I had a lot more headaches, and I had a lot of outbound spend going out that truly wasn't giving me the return. And I was more doing things for team members to appease them and make them happy. And when I cut all of that out, from a profitability side, I'm probably double or triple what my profitability was then.
That's amazing. That's amazing. A little turn to the left or a little turn to the right and just think about what you're doing can change so much. That's amazing. So let's deep dive a little bit more into the brokerage. Now, do you guys focus on buy side, sell side, 50-50, 80-20? What makes up majority of the transactional volume there?
Yeah, I'm much more of a listing agent. This year with COVID was pretty interesting. In fact, I just erased all the stats on my board. I can pull them up, but I used to run about 70-30 on the listing side, 30% on the buy side. And I think this year we were at 45 buy side, 55% list side, which I'm pleased with. So what really happened is I bumped up the buyer side of what we were doing, and I maintained the listing side and actually grew that by about 15%. So, next year, my goal is actually, and it was really interesting. I mean, this year, and I, in coaching agents, I know a lot of agents are experiencing this. COVID was the year of the sphere, right? Like that was the year to reach out to your database and just check in and see how they were doing. And that database gave us so much love that I'm going all in on sphere and database this year. Much less, like online lead gen, which I've done in the past. I mean, I've had Boomtown, I've had Zillow, I've done all these different things. I'm way less concerned about that right now because the beautiful thing about, Sphere and your database, if properly worked and you leverage it well, you could spend $10,000 a month, maintaining that. I'm sorry, $10,000 a year maintaining that versus $10,000 a month in online, lead gen that I used to do. Yeah. So, there's really cool ways that I'm seeing, to maximize, deal flow. And it's all about servicing the clients and tapping into what we already have. Plus, I'm a huge geographical farmer. I love geographic farming.
That's awesome. And it's interesting because of COVID, we were a big candidate of that, saying, hey, over at the Liftoff agent side, like you got to follow up with your database and check in with them and see how they're doing, because everyone's going through so many things, and the spectrum on that pendulum swing is on so drastic. Some people are thriving, other people are really hurting. So it's nice to go through that process. And we just found out that Google's changing their algorithms, and they're actually promoting genuine content that is a video that builds the know, like, and trust factor, that puts emphasis on showcasing who you are as an individual, and an authentic blog outside of just rewriting something that's already out there. So we're seeing a huge shift just in the way that individuals are starting to, work and do things differently in the real estate business, and they're going to need to. And that's why we had a lot of guests on the show that are highlighting it's just that.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because we're in a relational business, and human beings are relational anyways, right? Yes. So, now that technology has the ability to recognize that, I think is a huge, it's a huge plus for us in this industry, and anything that can harness and build those relationships. That's why the power of video is so important. Yes. Letting people in, letting them get to know you, being authentic, being real, not being fake is so, so important.
Yes, I love that. I definitely love it. And speaking of that, so is there anything, and you kind of touched on a little bit with your Sphere and reaching out to your database, was there anything that your team does maybe a little differently that separates you from the rest to be recognized as a number one individual team to be followed on, say, your Instagram and social media?
Yeah, so that was a really cool thing. That was done by Room.view.
Okay.
And so they're the ones that, went through and, kind of combed the, Instagram pages, right? And we were totally honored. I mean, we were actually totally surprised. We had no idea. And I think one of the things that we're good at, and I would say probably more my business partner, Trent, is much better at this. He's the video guy. Like I'm like the high driver, like, let's get it done. Let's go. Let's go. And he's just a really authentic, good person. I mean, he's constantly throwing out video. He's constantly doing content. Anytime he's at one of our listings, he's pushing stuff. Anytime he's showing a property, he's pushing that out. So, I think from a geographical farming standpoint, that's always been my strong suit. But I think, what we do is a little bit different because I'm a big believer that you hit everything by, land, sea, and air, no matter what you're doing. Yep. And what I mean by that is, it's integrating your marketing, right? If you're just going to be an agent that's going to mail twice a month and you're wondering why it's not working, it's because you're not doing enough to get out there. I mean, talk about technology, like you could use social media platforms to literally like geo farm as you're simultaneously throwing out, mailers or dropping or, when you could door knock or whatever it was going to be. And then, from a digital platform, the more you can get, get the consumers information, the more content that you can push out to them that's a little bit more relevant, a little bit more real. So I think anything you do, whether it's farming, whether it's your database, whether, even if you're getting online lead gen, like if you can capture who they are, where they are, you should hit them in multiple touch points. Yep. Instead of just trying to do it one way. Right. Yep. Like I always train my agents, like if you're going to like, this is also the year of cold calling came back, right? Like cold calling was like as strong as you could, because the point that you made earlier, if you didn't adapt and change what you were going to do, and your only way to get business was through open houses, then you're not going to survive.
Which is a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. I mean, but here's the funny thing is I was talking to one of my agents, early in the year, and she was really freaked out. She's like, I did, open houses almost every weekend. And this is why tracking and measuring and knowing KPIs is so important.
Yes.
Because I asked her, how many open houses did you do? I don't know. I did, probably one a weekend. Okay. So let's say you did 4 a month. Does that sound right? She said, yes. And I said, okay. So, you worked what, 40, or, the 40 weeks out of the month, you just multiply it. You figure it out. I'm like, how many deals did you do from open houses? She did one.
All that time spent.
And you add up the time, so you can always look at spend. The one thing that we can't get back is time. Yep. So, our time has a cost as well, right? Yeah. So, if you've ever gone through the exercise of dividing up your income and then into the number of hours that you work, your time is money.
I always tell everybody, and to repeat this, and you hit the point on, like, time is actually more valuable than money.
Yes.
Correct. Because you can't get any more of it. It's a finite resource.
Yes.
You can make more money.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, but you can't get time back. So, once, I kind of brought the paradigm shift to her of like, okay, so let's look at your database and your Sphere, because all the deals that she did the year before, except for one from an open house, was from Sphere and database. Mm-hmm. So I do a morning call every morning with Douglas Elliman at 8:30, and we call it the Douglas Elliman role play call. And, I go through a lot of role play and, sales techniques and training, but, 2 to 3 days out of the week, it's just about what's really going on from the street level in our local market of how do you expand, how do you build? And we get probably about 100 to 150 people on the call every day. We do it via Zoom now. Nice. And the moment that COVID happened, I looked at our agents. I said, don't panic. The economy is too strong. The interest rates are too low. The inventory is going to decrease because of COVID, which is going to cause heavy demand.
Yes.
And I said, and all you have to do is get on the phone with the people that care about you, the people that you've transacted with, and just simply call them and ask them how they're doing.
Yep.
Ask them how you could be a service. Like, forget sales. And so the agents that did that, they're the agents that are thriving this year. And so that's what I did with this particular agent. And she absolutely had a crushing year. She killed it.
Yeah. That's amazing. And to bring up the fact that when you're in the scarcity mindset, it's going to hold you back, because if you're going to lead by example, talking to your database and your past clients, letting them know that you're okay, your family's okay, checking in, are you okay, how's your family doing, is going to make them feel more confident in you to potentially do something. And now what we're seeing is all the tech workers now going virtual. So they're moving out of the big cities. They're going into multi-Peloton areas. People in California leaving California, hi, it's me, and going somewhere else, because it's just like, well, I want a better quality of life, and everything I do online is online anyway. So I don't need to even think about that. Not to mention, when you do niche down and you put emphasis on, say, you want to be the agent. I love working out. So I looked up EOS, and the next, I found a key term search for Instagram, and I found almost every single member that posts on Instagram at that gym that I could follow, that I could use as a database to potentially be able to farm, and I could actually niche down on just people that go to the gym and work out. If I was smart enough to want to be able to do that, I'm not an agent, so I'm not going to do that. So you can farm even with that, just going on
for
Instagram,
sure.
Like, hey, gym.
Yeah. I used to say years ago that you can't Instagram your way to success, but in a way you can if you understand how to use it, right? Yeah. Like, what I was always talking about was like, an agent that's never sold a home, but he's at a $20 million house, and he's like, check me out. I would always be like, okay, whatever, man. Like, go sell a home and get back to me. But actually now, like with what you just said, you could literally build your tribe however you want to build your tribe. Yes. And there's so many outlets to do it that, again, integrated marketing, as you're doing one thing, hit it in multiple facets and take it seriously. Build a plan and build a process and follow it. It's that simple.
Yeah. Yep. And I'll have one more question before going to the lightning rounds, and then Dan's going to take over here. But case in point, met my wife on Instagram, and I met my VP of growth off Instagram, and you're looking at him, Mr. Dan Gandy himself. He popped up in my DMs and said, dude, I want a new opportunity. I see what you're doing. Let's talk. And here we are now with this podcast a year later, and he's been with us at Liftoff for 3 years later. And it's amazing what you could do with just...
You hit me up through Instagram. You DM me.
Jeez, there goes Instagram, man. It's Instagram for the
power. Yeah, it's the new cold call.
So speaking of COVID and going back into kind of, what's going on for 2020, what's been the biggest thing that's kind of disrupted on the technology forefront, your business in 2020? And I'm sure COVID has something to do with that because of open houses and what happened. So what have you adapted to, or what would you say is the one thing that technology forefront has disrupted the way that you've done business in 2020?
It's an interesting question, because I don't know if there's necessarily one thing. What I got was really better at the things I was doing, right? So like I mentioned, I built, I hired an operations company, and they're my tech people, right? So, we had to look at like project management systems. Again, I wear multiple hats. I do multiple things. And so I needed, the dashboard that I could look at to be able to know exactly where my business is at. I needed a way to be able to communicate with them, to be able to review and look at, marketing content that they were going to push out. Like, everything's automated, like they know every 14 days, I need this piece, and I get pinged through Slack, and then I use Asana. And we use Asana for project management and really a lot of communication. It's actually one of the coolest software systems I've seen for project management, and be able to actually communicate with that team. I could, write notes on marketing things. I mean, literally, I could spend 15, 20 minutes a day on Asana and know everything in my business. Every checklist for everything that we have to do is built in there. So I think that was the cool thing, is I was already using project management software, but it was a little archaic. I had an old operations, an old business partner that only handled ops, and I think she was a little archaic in what she was using. And so what I was looking for was, efficiency, how to maximize time, how to maximize efficiency. And I could spend 30 minutes on Asana a day, and my whole business is dialed in. Plus, we use that team uses Google Drive, and that's my dashboard. I can look exactly where my numbers are. I know exactly what the income is coming in. I know what I've closed. I know what my averages are. I know every stat that I need to look at, and then I'm reviewing a P&L almost weekly.
Wow. That's huge. That's fantastic. I love this episode. Very systematic KPIs, standard operating procedures, and like, wow, kudos to you. So we're going to switch this over to Dan. We're getting to the lightning rounds. I'm going to go ahead and change the camera angle here. And this is going to be a segment where we can go ahead and be able to just deep dive into tech. What tech are you using? And Dan, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah. No, this is one of my favorite rounds. You've already shared a little bit about the operational tools that you're using. And, you know, if you want to give a shout out to other companies or other things and you want to, you know, promote any businesses that, you know, you use in your business to make the tech side of it more efficient, and as well as just traditional marketing. So I'm just going to run through it. You don't have to expound like too terribly deep on it. Like I try to keep it quick and fast. So, what type of CRM are you guys using, or what CRM are you guys using now in your business?
So I use two. You're going to laugh at this. This is where my AAA people go, and they've gone in there for 15 years. It's a 3.5 by note card, 3.5 by 5 note cards.
It's old school. That's awesome.
It's old school, and I like it. Of course, I have everything up in Contactually. Okay. So Contactually is the team CRM. That's where my ops company can get in and, you know, pull the data that they need, and then they throw email blasts through MailChimp.
Perfect. No, that's awesome. And then in terms of direct mail, do you automate that with like an agency, or do you use a tech service to do that, or is it in-house? How's the direct mail?
It would be in-house. Again, the ops company handles everything. So they're handling, you know, mailing for me, and everything anything that I need just runs through them. So one thing, and, you know, not to expand too much, I think there's too much technology out there, and I think people get totally blinded by it. And it doesn't matter what you use, but just simplify the process. So when I realized that I could send everything through one company that could manage my entire business, to me, that was simple, because everything lives in Asana.
Yeah. No, that's been part of our success at Lift Off Agent on the website and on the campaign side. People are like, oh, you guys are going to do all three of these things? Cool. Yeah. Like it makes me easier, and I know when I get the bill every month, I know what they're doing and who it is. So
and it's that even that's automated.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I just get a paid invoice.
Yeah. No, in terms of I know you briefly touched on Zillow and online digital paid ads. Are you still running any of those, or have you shifted to maybe Facebook?
Very, very minimal. So I do a lot of ad spend more on Instagram and Facebook. I even have a company that runs Instagram ads for me. And so, you know, I give them the orders. Again, delegate, right? Like if I can maximize profit and I don't have to spend the time to do it, I delegate it. So they're the masters of it, and I give them the orders and say, look, this is a listing. This is the geographic area that I want it at. This is the demographic that I'm looking for. Years ago, I used to do all this stuff. I think before you can delegate, you have to understand how it works.
Yeah.
Right? So I used to spend, you know, Mondays I'd come in and from 1 to 4, I would run my Facebook ads. And, you know, I would look at the upcoming weekend for open houses. I would be pushing out video content. I would, you know, figure out the target market for where that ad needed to go. And I ran it all. But as you guys know, the technology is changing and moving so fast that it's so difficult to run a business and then keep up with it. Yeah. So last year, we hired a company that runs our Instagram. And then we have a company, the same ops company runs my Facebook.
Okay.
So again, it's like a one-stop shop.
I like it. I love it. And then last question for me is there any like killer new technology like predictive analytics or a data company or anything in the real estate or prop tech?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, this is where I'm probably not going to help you because I don't know the companies because again, I hired a company that gives me all these analytics, right? Yeah. They're my company and I will plug them. They're called All in Reach. And they're amazing. That's OLLIN Reach. And I don't want too many people to call them because I don't want them to get too busy. I'm just kidding. However, you know, they run everything for me. I can get any analytic I need to run. You know, I've got agents that I coach and train and, you know, they're great with pay-per-click. They're great on Google. They're great on Facebook. They run those ads. They're getting those leads. I used to run a lot of online lead generation, but there's a lot of process and system that you need in there from follow-up to ISAs to, targeting the right spend to, I mean, I know agents that are doing hundreds of deals a year and all they do is online lead gen. It was never really my forte. I was pretty good at it. But yeah, I mean, I think anything that you're going to run and do, anything with technology, you have to be able to review analytics instead of just winging it.
Yeah, no, totally. We see it firsthand on the social side, on the campaign side, even on the website side and traffic. We've had a couple big heavy hitter agents come in. They're like, yeah, I don't need a website. Like my business is awesome. And then we like, hey, let's just pull up your broker template website traffic. You have like 13,000 people a month going to a crappy website.
Right.
Holy smokes, I have that many people? Yeah, you're sending out 30 grand in direct mail.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So connecting those dots, creating credibility, building authority, those are the things that we love to see agents kind of transition on. But
and everything has to be symbiotic, right? Like everything has to like have the same look, the same, like your Google page has to match this and that and this, and like LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And I don't think a lot of agents understand the importance of it.
Yeah, branding and the foundation as a positioning agency, that's what we say we are, is getting that agent to build the foundation and stand out from the crowd. And also, if they're an expert in something, luxury real estate, probate, investment properties, really highlighting that expertise so that you can drive that target market to you and really have predictable deal flow from the same type of clients. So
100%. Well, and that's the key word is predictable deal flow, right? Like, agents production, it always ebbs and flows and it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
So
true. Like we jump on calls with people all the time. We're like, how many deals did you close? Like 13. 2 months later, I don't have any.
Right.
Like, it's your process. It's your systems. So totally. That's great. Thanks for sharing all that. That really, it's going to help our audience really pull some really big ahas from this. So
awesome.
Definitely. Now, thank you so much, Dan, for the lightning rounds. And I mean, we have some more questions, but Brad, you pretty much already answered it as far as considering yourself an expert in any real estate area positioning. I mean, you talked about your farm in Orange County and kind of where you're at with that. Do you focus on any specific farm, like seller or buyer farm? I mean, I know you already have mailers that you send out and you're pretty good about that specifically, but do you target like a seller farm specifically and have a message specific for that, and a buyer farm specifically and a message for that?
Yeah, I do. I don't really have a buyer farm, but I have multiple farms. I have multiple geographic farms, but I have very similar pieces that are going out through my database. And I look at my database as a farm too.
Okay.
So, those are people that are, either past clients, their sphere. So they're getting all the mailings that we do, but it's geared differently with a different message for them. And then, those are people that obviously they're friends of mine on Facebook and Instagram, and they're seeing what we're doing. So we're staying in front of them. They're getting, email blasts. And, so we're touching it in multiple different facets. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, yes, I don't necessarily have a buyer farm.
Yeah.
But anyone that, I lead generated, through, online lead gen sources, they're getting the content as well. They may not be getting the full boat of content because I don't necessarily have all their, mailing addresses. But they're and also, custom audiences and everything else that you can run ads in. A lot of those people have been pushed into that.
Love it. Fantastic. So last question before we get into kind of like letting the floor be yours. Is there a secret weapon or something you would say that you have that's like a differentiating factor, a technology, something that you're doing? Maybe it's just the team, the SOPs that you have that you can leave us with.
Here's what I train everyone on. Technology and everything is really, really great. Okay. Branding yourself is extremely important. But your knowledge of your local real estate market is everything, especially today because buyers have access to the same data that we have. Yeah. So we have to know things at such a deeper level that they can't find on Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, etc.
Yes.
Right? So we need to know the nuances of every single bit of this business, from contracts to inventory to simple statistics of what's happening in the market. And I think when you have that knowledge plus the ability to communicate with people and articulate your value proposition, that will trump anything.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. When you add the other stuff to that knowledge base, then your business is going to exponentially grow. easily.
Oh my God. That's so true. Because then you know you have what you need to have, because confidence is nothing more than having knowledge, and being an expert is nothing more than being an authority. So when you have that and you compile that with technology and you have blogs and videos and articles and things going out, that's going to benefit you. You'll be sleeping at night and people are reaching out to you. I watched that video, I watched that article, read that article, and I had no idea that was in Orange County. And now I want to go check it out with my family. Thanks so much. Not looking to buy or sell right now, but I'll think about you in the future.
Nurture.
Yeah.
Awesome. Technology should be used to support your skill set, but you got to build your skill set first.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times everyone's looking to pay money to do certain things without building the proper skill set to get them there.
Wow. That's
100%.
Awesome, Brad. Well,
it's been a great show.
Yeah, we're at the end of the show now where the floor is open. So is there a project? Is there someone listening that potentially should join your team? Are you looking to bring on team members? The floor is yours. What would you like to leave with our viewers and listeners today?
I will say I'm not looking for team members. No, I'm really not. I'm just, I can't train my team like I once did, right? Like there was a time, now I'm training multiple agents. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. I've got such a tight group that we are really, really doing well. But, follow us on Brad Feldman Group. I'm always willing to, support the real estate community. I love the real estate community. This business has given me so much opportunity, more than I ever thought that I would have. Wow. So I'm always looking to give back, always.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, Brad, thanks so much for being on the show. This was amazing. And we really appreciate all your knowledge and letting us deep dive into your life and what you're doing and your team and your matrix and everything you're doing, because I really believe this is going to help our listeners and viewers. Thank you, Dan, so much for being on the show as well and co-hosting today.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. I just added you on Instagram and through a connection through LinkedIn, man. Let's keep connected.
Awesome, Dan. Appreciate it. Norman, thank you.
Likewise.
Appreciate you guys.
No worries. And to our viewers and listeners, we appreciate you tuning in. It's our intention for you to take something from these episodes, apply to your business, have more massive success, and we'll see you on the next one. You made it to the end. Well, thank you so much for watching Real Estate vs. Technology. We hope you found value, especially something you can apply to your real estate business. If you could do us a favor, we would appreciate it. A thumbs up. If you subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll be notified for new episodes coming out. And comment below, what the heck did you learn? If you want to join our Facebook group page, there's a link right here. And if you want to be featured on Real Estate vs. Technology, send us a DM on our Instagram page. We'll see if we get you on the show. So, take care. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.